Welcome, everybody, to Samudra Shakti Online. I'm glad you're joining us, whether live on Zoom or on Facebook Live. So Madhuri Martin and I are here, and we are the co-creators of Samudra Shakti Online. Madhuri's out west in Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains of the United States, and I am along the East Coast of the United States in Florida. So our planning committee that actually brought the live event in the Colorado Rocky Mountains to life is Deb Payne, myself, Madhuri Martin, and Kim Friedman. So our online event is based on a live event where the Anusara teachers gathered in 2019. And it was such a Shakti-filled event, so much energy that we wanted to keep it alive. And we created Samudra Shakti Online. Madhuri, do you have any fun things to share in this moment? I'm going to stop the screen share. Anything you want to tease us about coming up?
Well, thank you, Lisa, for so along the lines of Samudra Shakti Online live event that we did in 2019, the planning committee that you just saw the picture of, Deb Payne, Kim, Lisa, and myself, we got together again and decided we're going to punt. We're going to bring ourselves a USA event in the Colorado Rockies in the fall of 2023. So we're really excited because we had such a blast putting it together the first time. And then it ended up being an extraordinary, very inspiring, very extremely Shakti-filled event. So we're gonna double down on this one, and a lot of great ideas are coming. It'll be fabulous.
Yeah, so you got it hot off the press that we've got a live event coming. All right, so tonight we have Julia Pearring with us, and her topic is Ananda Spanda. What is inner body alignment? And Julia is from New York City, and she is an experienced certified Anusara Yoga teacher. And she's also a certified yoga therapist through the International Association of Yoga Therapists. She supports students in the exploration of their optimal range, uncovering their strength and potential for a deeper alignment, no matter their current range of movement. She started teaching Anusara Yoga in 2008. And in that same year, she had a sequence of life-changing experiences that ignited her passion for the grace principles of yoga and how Anusara Yoga brings them into being through the universal principles of alignment. That said, she had to know more about the how and the why, the UPA's work. And those are the universal principles of alignment, shorthand UPA. It led her to many advanced studies in inside and outside the community. In the past 10 years, she has built a thriving therapeutic yoga practice and also acts as the managing director for the World Yoga Center, which is an Anusara Yoga affiliate school that has been in New York City for 50 years. She loves to lead retreats and train teachers. During the pandemic, she built an online platform to support students in exploring their practice smartly and joyfully. She strongly believes that an active sadhana, basing one's personal practice on committed self-inquiry and compassionate process, is invaluable for yoga teachers and practitioners. She lives in New York City. She's the mother of two, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And recently she co-wrote the Therapeutic Applications of Anusara Yoga Teacher's Guide, which was presented last year, 2021. Along with 4 other teachers, she co-wrote that manual for the global Anusara community. Thank you, Julia, for that tremendous effort. And she says she's ever grateful to be a part of this community. So I'm going to stop the screen share and hand this off to Julia Pearring.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Madhuri. This is my 3rd time presenting, and I just continue to be so grateful for you two, what you developed. I'm glad you present the way you do. You begin showing where it began, the roots of this. It was such an amazing experience, and I am now thrilled that there's another one on the books. Great. I'll be there. Welcome. I picked this topic of Ananda Spanda, which really came from a continued interest in therapeutics and wanting to grow this conversation in the community, or even just keep putting on the spotlight, so we realize how intrinsic therapeutics is to our community and how intrinsic it is within what we do. It's there, therapeutic yoga. And then I also, at the same time, had a conversation with a bunch of teachers. So I'm going to start with a little slideshow so that we can get to quickly through, because we're going to do some movement. Okay, so it's nice to have a title. I like a title. Here's the intention. Ananda Spanda, what is inner body alignment? And this is the question that I had with a group of teachers around the same time that I chose this topic and chose to present again, and long before I knew it was Super Bowl Sunday. And what the question, what comes up for me is, how does therapeutics and alignment, how are they brought together? And so the alignment is really a part of something called the 3 A's of Anusara Yoga. And I know many of you know this, so it's going to be really quick to get to the crux of what I want us to consider tonight. We have attitude, alignment, and action, the 3 A's. And it's all based off of Icha, Yana, and Kriya. Icha Shakti, the power of divine will, or the power of the heart. Yana Shakti, divine knowledge, or an integrated awareness. And Kriya Shakti, freedom of action, agency, and manifestation of the heart, really. And they're a sequence. We begin with attitude, which leads us to alignment, which leads us to action. So that's the context of how we're going to talk about alignment today. The alignment that is the second of the 3 A's that comes about from attitude and leads us into action and agency. And part of what alignment also has to do with, and this was in the description, is our understanding of ourselves as a layered being. That, what do we mean when we mean inner alignment? And this was part of the conversation I was having with the group of teachers, because alignment between the outer body and the inner body, what is that? The outer body and the inner body, between ourselves and the people around us and relationship. And there's so many layers in which we can look for alignment, which we can look for an integrated awareness and a coming together. So I put these 2 pictures on here because, to me, they're beautiful, and they really show the intrinsic layering that life has. And I like these 2 because they're slightly different. The one on the left is an onion, and it's more of a torus shape, where we see that inner flame. We see that central column, and we see the layering, right? And it's, then the kiwi has a different cut, right? A cross-section cut. So actually, the one on the right being a kiwi, you see more the layered approach, like the center of a target. You see the pit, you see the center and the layering. And we have in yoga, the koshas, we have nesting layers of consciousness. We look at how there are all these different layers, even between physical body and emotional and layers, and even deep sleep layers, the deep unconscious or subconscious layers of the void space within us. And we do that because we want to practice to orient. We want to become more clear within these layers, because it's an alignment. It has that invitation for divine knowledge or integrated awareness. So part of the reason this conversation, you were not there for this conversation with the teachers, but that's why I'm taking you through this, because we brought out the manual, and I read the Anusara Yoga manual so enthusiastically as a young teacher. And then I think I put it aside for more time than I should have. And so coming back to the manual, alignment and action is what I'm going to get at. Attitude is first and foremost. It comes first. And we could actually, last year, I think I kind of did a whole presentation on it. So we have this opening that we want that divine heart. We want the divine will. We recognize that it's there. We open to it. And then the question is a really important question. Alignment is the question of how does attitude become action? So alignment is the bridge, or alignment is the piece, it's the conscious effort. One of my teachers, not in Anusara Yoga, once said to me, like, are you doing what you think you are doing? Because if we are doing what we think we are doing, we're in a good place. And that question actually is bringing to our awareness that actually a lot of the times we're not doing what we think we are doing. And it's easy to reflect back and we're like, oh, shoot, I was nailing that argument. And then actually you reflect back and you're like, no, I was not seeing clearly, or I was jumping the gun and cutting this person off, or whatever it is. Like, are we doing what we think we're doing? In other words, can we take that which is deep within us, this heart, this divine will, and is it actually coming into the actions we take? Right. So in the manual, how do we align? Well, there's all these different layers. Even this picture here that I chose, I saw this very recently at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in the Surrealist exhibit. And it just made me think of those outer layers, right? And the physical body and the world around us, and how there's that alignment needed there. You could say the yamas and niyamas, or something along those lines. How do we align? But in the manual, that's what I want to get to. That's what's listed here, the align how. It says first, outer shape and the form of the pose. So basically how each shape has a resonance and a presence. And it's saying, no, I'm in this position, or I'm in this circumstance, or I'm taking this asana. And it has positioning that has to do with skeletal, musculature, internal organs. It's very physically oriented. It's tangible. And then we have inner body and outer body relationships. So then those inner layers, like the layers of the onion, the layers that we saw in the kiwi, and the positioning of prana, of mind, of higher consciousness within the musculature, within the skeletal, within the internal organs, within the form of the pose. And then you can also say, and this last point is in some ways where we started, are you doing what you think you're doing? Is there self-awareness? Is there interconnectedness? Also in the manual, it says dynamic symmetry, but that's not a physical symmetry. It does not mean that we have to be the same on each side. A dynamic symmetry instead has to do with reflection across sides, right? That interconnectedness, the self-awareness. How well does our action reflect our attitude? So alignment is this bridge. And in the manual, this is what alignment is. This is this is what it is, so that when we get to action, so act how, once aligned, there is a pulsation of muscle and organic energy. It's propelling, right? Complementary forces of drawing in and extending out, spanda, right? Into and out of focal points, into and out of deep heart energy to surface and all the way through the layers. It's compelling. As we know, it's you can't not act, right? There's a movement. And so these alignment and all these layers that we just brought up allows then that pulsation to take place in a way where we're honoring our heart, right? We're honoring the attitude. And when I reread the manual in teaching teachers over the past few years, I was like, you know what? I think this is amazing, and I really have to think about this, because actually I had come up with my own interpretation. So here's my own interpretation. I had come up with attitude, alignment, and action being paralleled with open to grace, muscle energy, and organic energy, which means that I had put muscle energy as alignment. And I want to invite this. It's not right or wrong, there's something to it. And here's how it just developed, because there's a way in which so let's just start with open to grace. Foundation, outer shape, right? Very much what we, part of what we're after, right? Outer body soft, inner body bright. Even focal points for me can feel very open to grace, right? Where are those centers? Like where's the depth of the heart that we're orienting to? So we begin with that. And then muscle energy, all the drawing in. So instead of aligning and then there's this pulsation, I worked for years on like how all the little refinements, how does everything alignment become that coming in from the edges, those outer layers of the onion, to really get into the hub, right? To find all those different pathways. Like, can you get them all? I mean, you can't get them all, but can you keep finding them? Can you keep discovering them? Can you be inspired by them? Realize when you've missed. You know, there's so many ways, you know, all the refinements of loops and all the refinements of spirals were ways for me to make sure that I opened that door. I made that bridge between, you know, to get to the heart of things. So that organic energy had this expression, right? It just was like, here it is. It fills the pose, the body, it opens up, so that in each pose itself, I could even teach these three as a way of attitude being muscle energy. And I just put this picture on here. It's an abdominal cross section. There, you know, there's all these extra lines that Tom Myers or whoever's artist drew on, and I just have always really liked to look at it, you know, in all the ways in which there's these layers and these coming in. You know, what is inner body alignment? You know, what is it? Is it internal organs? We're going to do an asana practice and we're going to play with some internal organs. Is it prana and consciousness? It's all of these things. Is it the method of you know, all the ways that we align and then action pulsates? And it's like, absolutely, it's so free when we get to action. It's so free. It just manifests. And then, is there a way in practice where in a pose we could go through open to grace, muscle energy, and organic energy, and we could use muscle energy as this align until we don't need to anymore, until all of a sudden it just kind of, it expands, it opens, the heart becomes visible. I pressed the button too soon, but here it is. Okay, so the last slide, the heart serves the heart. You know, what is Ananda and what is Spanda? You know, these are potentially just, you know, tag words. They're just words like fascia to get, you know, people to show up. You know, we just, Anusara Yoga, put Ananda in there, put Spanda in there. You know, the heart is just joyful co-creation, Shakti, you know, the powerful expression, each of us as an instrument. You know, the heart is there. The heart serves the heart. You know, you know, when I discovered, like, how long ago had I last read the manual? Like I had to readjust and like see it again through the manual. There's no wrong way, right? The heart serves the heart. It's all there to be discovered. And the pulsing energies of, you know, particularly muscle and organic energy, but just the pulsing energy that is our knowing and our discovery and our the mystery and elusiveness of the heart. You know, we're here in practice. You know, that's what we're here for. It's that constant spanda, that constant revealing of the heart of Ananda. So we're going to practice together. This, by the way, is an image of the heart. You can probably see the outer shape, but particularly these are the coronary arteries. So these are the blood vessels that nourish the cells of the heart. So while the heart is the center of that vortex that provides blood and nourishes every cell in the whole body, of course, it is also nourishing itself, right? So the heart serves the heart. What I'm going to invite us to do now is to take a moment to shift to the mat. What is alignment? What is inner body alignment? And I chose inner body alignment because I find it curious. You know, are we talking organs? We could be. Are we talking prana? You know, we could really, you know, depends on kind of what layer you decide is the outer and the inner, right? So come into child's pose. This is one of my favorite sequences to start. Child's pose is not necessarily an easy place to begin. So take the time you need, take the props you need. But one reason I like it is there's a lot of foundation. Press your forearms, your hands. Press your shins and the top of your feet. Let the back of your knees slide just a little bit more as if towards your elbows as you let your seat release backward.
And give good weight into your forehead until your tailbone can lengthen and reach down behind you. And breathe. Use the movement of your breath. Use the power of prana. Because remember, alignment is a integration. It's a self-awareness. It's a divine knowledge where things remember their connection to each other. When your breath moves, different layers of tissues in your body will slide and glide against each other. And then come on up to downward facing dog. So lengthen your stance. Toes tuck under and knees and hips lift. Then pedal a little bit, mostly to spread toes to get a good grip. Again, between the toes and the mounds of the toes. Even take a moment as you're pedaling to feel the weight shift from off of one hand and more onto the other hand. Again, press to your fingertips and notice how you are in relationship with the earth. And there's so much feedback we get. There's so many ways we align and come to know ourselves, right? Self-awareness through that relationship. Feel that, especially in child's pose and down dog, the inversions, just the bow to the earth. And then bend both of your knees and kind of like child's pose, pressing onto your hands and onto your feet. Let the back of your knees go a little forward to deepen your thighs up and back. And get a little bit of weight into your forehead to lighten your throat, your low belly, and pull your tailbone slightly back. And then come back down to child's pose. Do one more round. Underarms can lift. You can lift palms up. If you want it more active this round, to warm the arms. Lifting the triceps, your underarms up to the bone, so your armpits come together. But then even try one more variation. Come to the pinky edge of your hand, or maybe even towards palms turned up. So we do a big spiral of the arms, expanding spiral, where your armpits almost spin towards your heart for a moment. And spin inward. You knit across your chest a little bit more, and you breathe again into your back and press your shins down. Pull your knees slightly forward and open your back up with breath. And then again, come up to downward facing dog. And as you press onto your toes, pull way back toward your heels, but keep the mounds of your feet pushing. So there's no drop of your arch. But your heels pull back and then you press to your fingertips, really lengthening the pose and just noticing, there's organic extension for sure. We'll see how it opens up through the practice. We practice this orientation in the layers. We practice alignment. That attitude, the divine heart, that elusive heart, it's there. You just get clear enough for it to really manifest, to express through action. Bring your knees to the floor. Extend your left leg back from hands and knees. And spread your toes there and maybe pedal a little there. It's a lot tougher. You don't get as much grip through the mounds. You have to use your toes a little bit more. It's very easy for the back of our knee to jut up into the air. So start to sense how to pull the musculature forward and into your left hip. And yet push down still onto the earth with fingertips, the rim of your palm, find all the little surface area spots. And feel that pulsation of action that's in the manual, of muscle energy drawing in, and also extend back through the bones of your left leg until maybe even your right knee could pop up off the floor, or at the very least, you're prepping to lift your right knee off the floor. It doesn't have to come up. You're just feeling that pulsation come through your leg. And then let's try the other side. So again, at first, just a little pedal. Maybe even turn your heel a little bit in and out. And spreading your toes, pressing down. The musculature are the soft tissues. You want to pull them all the way to your hip. So notice if you can pull to the back of the knee, press down onto your toes more. Soften the back of your knee and pull all the way forward into your right hip, low belly. And then feel the way that you use muscle energy as an alignment towards the depth of your own being. In all ways you can think of, in all ways you can make those connections. And then when you're ready to extend out through the bone of your leg, use that to see if you can perhaps, or at least prep, the lift of the left knee just slightly off the mat. And then exhale and release it. Bring both knees down, but walk them back a little further. Tuck your toes under and come back like a puppy pose. Again, press to your toes and pull. And almost see if you can imagine the calf muscles. So from your Achilles, you're going to pull them into the back of your knee. Deepen your hip crease. Same movements, same direction we were playing in child's pose. But now come up through the wave of a cat. So you let your lowest belly lift, your mid spine lift. At the same time, you're trying to travel the height of the wave from low spine to upper spine. You come forward over your fingertips. And then you come forward into an upward dog, sliding your hips through, letting your chest come a bit through. Elbows can bend to the degree you need, but press fingertips and even reach back through the bones of your legs. And can you find the corresponding forward pull? So the pull from your feet all the way to your hips on all sides. Use spirals, use loops, use the strong muscle actions, muscle energy actions to draw into the lift of your low belly. Good. And then pushing back, downward facing dog one more time. Feel your body warm, feel the tissues warm, feel the warmth itself, the resonating breath. The alignment on so many different levels. Stemming from a strong power of your own heart. To bring the heart manifest. Let's wake up the arms a little bit more. We did the legs. Let's try one with the arms. So actually come back towards a child's pose. However, walk both of your hands over to the right side of your mat. So even maybe so far that your left hand's not on the mat. And take a moment, try to press shins down a bit. Try to have your legs stay pretty centered, but your belly could slide over your right thigh now or over time. And as your hands are placed here, imagine you had a really big jar under your hands and you're trying to unscrew the lid. So you pull one hand towards you, you push the other hand away. It's like you're trying to turn the floor. And you turn in one direction and then it's like you forgot which way unscrews and which way screws. You try to turn the other way. So now you switch which one's pushing and which one's pulling on the floor. And as you do that, if it can travel all the way into the torso, see how that brings slight movements, layers in your body, just sliding and gliding along each other. Perhaps even I'm going to postulate that some of your internal organs might be just slightly shifting around each other. So one hand pulls towards you, the other pushes away, like a super tight jar on a lid. Trying to unscrew it and you go one way and the other way. Keep your neck softer, keep your eyes at ease. And then let's try the other side. So releasing, walk yourself to the other side. So both hands come off, you're on the floor. And take a moment to, again, find the weight of the top of your feet, the push of your shins, pull calf muscles still into the back of your knee. So there's just a little bit of deepening there, and the belly can slide over the left leg now or over time. And same thing, there's a jar lid over here. You're trying to unscrew it. One hand pulls toward you, the other hand pushes away. And the body won't be the same on this side, and it's not because you've done anything wrong. That's why dynamic symmetry, it's not that at some point finally our two sides will be the same. It's instead that they're connected, right? That they are dynamic together, that there is an interconnectedness. I love all the potential language that we can put with alignment, self-awareness, all of these. So you might find something different on this side. Coming back, downward facing dog. This time coming forward through plank pose. And coming all the way forward and down through chaturanga and onto your belly. And coming back some, we're going to start with our arms in the overhead plane, kind of like we were going to take a Shalambhasana variation, but come back to how we did our second child's pose. Come onto the pinky edge of your hand and push down on the pinky edge of your hand. If you wanted also a block between your hands, it could be nice so that the palms have somewhere to push towards, a good midline hug. Another way, right, that we come towards the center, use a midline action. But particularly the pinky edge pushing down, let that invite that same spiraling action of your armpits turning a little bit in toward your heart. And part of that is it's going to be a knitting across the front. When we do expanding spiral of the upper body, the back widens and the front narrows a bit. It's like you're knitting a cloth, sternum in towards the sternum. It's going to be your hammock between these two trees of the arms when we play with a little bit of a deeper back bend. You want that clear knitting across the front through the layers. A few more breaths. See how that feels. The pacing of it. Good. And then releasing. Come up onto hands and knees. And come up to kneeling. If you want anything, I'd like to have just a little padding under my knees. We're going to take a variation in Ustrasana. I'm going to turn this way. I think it might be easier if you see me from here. So you take your right hand to your left hip. Maybe as if you had a sword and a sheath over here, or you're buckling a seatbelt, right? But you're going to grab the hip. So if you were to pull on your right hand, your left hip would come forward or even maybe turn to the right. So do that a few times just to get the feel of what happens when your right hand pulls on your left hip. And then let's try the other side. Now you're sitting on the other side of the car, the seatbelt's over here. Your right hand, left hip grabs your right hand, and you just pull your hand like you're going to pull your left elbow back over to the left. It pulls your right hip around. And maybe there's a different feeling of that pull. Maybe one side goes very quickly. Maybe one side it takes a little longer. Maybe one side there's more resistance, one side less. Good. And then come back and come again, left to the right hand to your left hip, first side. And as you do a little bit of that pulling, go ahead and bring your opposite hand to your low back or to the back of your pelvis. And now pull your elbow back, and at the same time, your right hand is pulling your left hip to the front. Spin your inner body, and now we're saying internal organs a little bit more to the left, pulling back to your left elbow, almost like your pelvic contents wanted to look inside your left pelvic half. See if that makes any sense. And now, not like the lid of a jar. I use that image on purpose. In twisting, we're not taking a lid off a jar.
That's too local, right? It's like twisting up a towel. You want to also feel your low belly lift, and you want to push down through your knees. Good. Try the other side. Don't overdo any of this. There's no need, right? It's just your own layers realizing their connection, right? Gaining in self-awareness. So as you bring your hand to your hip, it's the same thing. The hand's going to pull the hip around to the front, but you put your right hand on the back of your pelvis and you invite the twist to the right of your deep core organ body. And again, the two sides will have a different story to tell. Make sure it's not the lid of the jar, right? Go down into your knees, lift up, pull a little bit back into your right elbow as you bring your hip around and try to balance it. So you just allowed that little turn to look inside your right pelvic half. Feel the heat there, right? And then exhale and release it. Downward facing dog.
Inhale, come forward. You're also welcome if you wanted to do knees down, if you want to do another wave of the cat to the upward dog. But either way, we'll come down again. Take a back bend. And then come down onto your elbows. Bend your left knee, reach back with your left hand to grab your foot. This is actually a very similar shape to Ustrasana, right? But just a different relationship to gravity. So the form is similar, right? But because we have that relationship with the space around us and that relationship with the earth and the weight and pull of gravity, it's different. Kick your left foot back into your left hand. In some ways to try to get a little bit lighter out of your right shoulder to push into your right hand. You could do pinky edge again if you wanted. But then notice this twist that we invited here. Continue to invite your left hip to heavy towards the floor, left hip point around the mat, but invite the lengthening back to your knees and the lengthening up through your spine to turn, perhaps to pick your elbow up behind you and feel the twist. And exhale, release, second side. And you know, some sides, I know some people, they can reach back, no problem. One side, the other side, they have to do a big lift of your hip. You know, see what you need to get there, but then find this balance at the hip. Right hip heavies around to the floor again. But you meet it with the inward turn, right? With the twisting, pull back into your knees, lift through your low belly, and turn just a little bit to look inside that right pelvic half as the hip point heavies. Self-awareness on all levels and every way we can bring it about so that are we doing what we think we are doing? That we can match our action with the deep level of heart. And exhale and release. Hands and knees. Take a moment from hands and knees, just hip side to side. See how the back bend shapes are starting to bring resonance into the body, a specific feeling perhaps. Starting to warm the body in ways. And then slide your left knee forward to your left wrist. Right knee steps back. We'll just take a lifted pigeon. On your back leg, tuck your toes under and lift your back knee for a moment. And we did an early lunge kind of the back leg and pull all the musculature in the same way. Do it from the push of your toes. Try to get heavy on your foot back there so that you can get a strong draw on all sides of the leg. Just pulling the tone of the soft tissues forward as if into the right hip. Then release your right knee down again. Front leg. Turn your shin and heavy it like this was actually a child's pose leg and pull the calf muscles towards the back of your front knee to get a little bit of tone on that outer left hip. So as much as you settle and release, there's also a boundary. There's a strong support from the outer body. And you lift up. And then hands plant, switch sides. And back toes tucked. Lift your leg. It's really tough. The leg is extremely extended, right? We're at end range-ish here, right? We're approaching it. So still meet the earth back there. Really find it and invite the bones to press back, right? So we have those complementary actions. You pull all the musculature forward for that extension of the bones back, and then the muscles can pull forward even more clearly. And you can extend back even more clearly. And again, press, even kind of pointing your front toes, trying to wrap to the top of the foot, press your front shin heavier and pull into the back of your right knee as if to bend it deeper. And see how that might get your outer right hip active underneath you. Good. And then coming back, hands and knees. Downward facing dog. And walk your hands from the front of the mat to the back of the mat. Soften for a few breaths there. Let the back of your head release. Scoop your belly upward a little bit towards the front of the spine, because in many ways that's going to put the strength of action into your legs, the pulsing of the drawing up and extending down. We just keep asking ourselves this: what is the inner body alignment? Well, it is what bridges the heart into action. It's what ultimately brings that power of the heart into manifestation through us. The heart serves the heart, and we're that instrument. Push down, inhale, come up to stand. We haven't yet been standing yet, but we're going to take one pose here, Natarajasana. Step forward onto your right foot. Grab your left. Right hand. Bring it to your left hip. So invite that play here, as if almost the pose was mostly about the alignment of that left hip coming forward and how much you kick back. Imagine you're still on your belly. You can pull forward, because often when we're in the pose, when we kick back, we kind of lose this, we lose the center because everything spins. So you're playing with the left hip forward, the right seat firming. And then inhale and stretch your arm up if you'd like to extend further from there. And here we stand right on what is the ignorance, what is that elusive nature of the heart to obscure the power of the heart in the form. Exhale and release. Stepping back and second side onto your left foot. Grabbing your right, and again at first, bring your hand to your outer hip. Invite it to turn around. So when you kick your foot back, you can feel the inner body. And today we're playing with organ awareness. Like abdominal organs, deep pelvic organs, just slightly twist inside the right with the kick of the foot back, but the hip still wraps forward so that your left seat can firm. And then inhale, stretch your arm up and just see where it takes you. Notice how easeful you can be with it. It's not just the outer resonance of the form, right? So many connections and awareness, expanding and remembering a dynamic reflection of self in all the layers. Nice. And then exhale and release. Fold a little bit, bend your knees, swing your hips. Let it be a nice, easy movement. Even lifting heels, coming down through a squat. And to sit. Because I'm surprised we did it, but we did it. We got through it. A presentation and a practice. Come onto your back. We're going to take a moment to rest in Shavasana. Let your head shake a little side to side. Let your body soften, and yet notice what's coursing through you. What's so beautiful is we were on this brink of action, right? We just took Natarajasana, We also honor then what it means, what self-awareness is, the reflective nature, the integration, the absorption, the rest. We get good at releasing down through the layers. Like you put a nice good stack of blankets on the top of your thighs, your belly, your ribs. And you release into the power of your own heart. Joyful co-creation. You're an instrument of your own powerful heart. And then deepen your breath. And slowly gather your limbs in. And make your way up to a comfortable seat. And the last thing I'll say, because it's time, is I just tried a little bit of languaging of both of those models, of using the pulsation and muscle and organic energy in the action phase, and using every possible alignment I could invite, and also I could encourage you to imagine, to deepen a pose where the alignment is that muscle energy until the pose, it's just there it is, right? The heart, that elusive heart is actually right there, serving the heart. Heart serves the heart. So thank you very much. I'll pass this back, but just my utmost gratitude for each of you for being here and for this beautiful method. Namaste.
Thank you, Julia. We do have, a few minutes, if anybody, like 3 to 4, before we have to wrap up with some closing conversation and housekeeping. But does anybody have any questions or conversation about what Julia offered tonight? I know for me, Julia, in your presentation, one of the things that I was thinking about when you said the heart serves the heart, one of the things I studied a long time ago was that the heart is I think it's the only organ that isn't able to protect itself. Like it doesn't have its own defense system. And that's why we have those layers to the heart, like, the layer, what's it called? The cardium,
Pericardium, yeah.
and then you get water in between there. Yeah. And the layers are actually the heart's protection. And I was like, oh, that was an anatomy thing, but I'm like, oh, there's like Anusara wisdom in that. Have you ever heard that, or is that?
Oh yeah, it's so beautiful. I almost brought this image. It was going around Facebook for a little while. It's just this kind of cartoonish image of the heart with like the lungs giving it a hug, these kinds of things, and just like seeing the internal organs and these sweet ways of embrace. I love the organs, and I love bringing their awareness into our practice. But yeah, no, totally. They're not different. Everything I've learned through anatomy has only continued to affirm what I know through the scriptures and my own experience. And so, yeah, totally. I love those tidbits.
Yeah. And it's fun to go to an art museum with Julia. I'll just say that.
We did get to do that once.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in? Any other thoughts?
Well, I was profoundly moved by the level of organ massage and organ consciousness and organ awareness. And my mind kept coming back to what you said at the beginning, Julia, of are we doing what we think we're doing? It's really nice to slow down the postures and then go into this nuance, but also turning of the jar is not that much nuanced. It's quite dramatic, what was going on internally, to hold in a certain way, like the twist instead of the turn, right? This is how we're going to hold, to make sure that we're twisting, to make sure that the organs are actually getting their, you know, their space, their due, their you know, their play in this. It was fabulous. I really loved it.
Sweet, super sweet.
Oh.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna, Nancy, I'll
Yeah,
let
I
you
just
jump in.
wanted to, I love that too. It was such a beautiful practice, and my mind wasn't quite tracking. Can you show the turning of the jars with your hands again? Just so
Yeah, it's
this
just
way.
it's just one pulling and one pushing. Yeah,
Yes.
one pulling and
Okay.
one
I was
pushing.
trying to, I was like one pulling and one pushing. Yeah, that was the subtlety of it. I have to echo Madhuri, the feeling of what was going on inside. And I don't speak a lot to the organs, and it was just like, wow, that was wonderful. So rich. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Nancy. I'm glad you were here.
All right, you guys, I am going to head us towards the finish line. Okay, so Samudra Shakti Online, thank you all for joining us. I'm going to hand this back to Julia for one final farewell. She'll close us out. Julia, thank you.
Thank you. Great to be together. I love this conversation. I love the nitty-gritty that we get into. We're just even chatting about alignment, self-inquiry, and just the beautiful way in which it allows our hearts to really be in the world in all the ways we yearn for it to be in the world. And with this method, which supports us completely in doing so and in sharing that with each other. So yeah, that's it. I send you off with great love, and be in touch. I would love to see you all again very soon.